April 10, 1912. This was the day when the world's largest and most luxurious ship, the RMS Titanic, set out on its very first journey. Titanic's voyage was from Southampton, England, to New York City. On board were around 2,200 people, of which nearly 900 were crew members. Among the passengers were not only ordinary citizens, but also wealthy businessmen and actors. For this first voyage of Titanic, there was great excitement among the passengers, the public, and the media. Even before completing a single journey, Titanic had already become so famous during its construction that crowds gathered at the seaport just to see its size and beauty. More than 100,000 people came to witness the beginning of Titanic's first voyage. What people had read in newspapers and heard about Titanic was nothing compared to what they saw with their own eyes. It was even more magnificent and beautiful. This ship was 269 meters long, 28 meters wide, and about 53 meters high. Its height was greater than a 10-story building. As beautiful as Titanic appeared from the outside, it was even more luxurious inside. It was so lavish that even the best five-star hotels could not compare. There were stained glass windows, ornate wooden carvings, and 2 grand staircases. The ship had a heated swimming pool, a gymnasium for large restaurants, a library, Turkish baths, an electric bath to barber shops, and countless other facilities. Titanic was not only special in terms of luxury, but its safety features made it even more valuable. It was built in such a way that it could never sink. A double-bottom hull was used, which made it very strong and secure. During voyages, the lower part of the ship is always in contact with seawater, which increases the risk of colliding with hidden rocks or other obstacles. In Titanic's case, if such a situation occurred and the lower part of the ship was damaged, the second layer of the double hull was enough to keep it safe. This was enough to keep it safe. Titanic's second biggest safety feature was that it was divided into 16 watertight compartments. This meant that if, due to a collision, one compartment was damaged and water began to fill it, that water could not flow into the other compartments. This safety feature was capable of keeping the remaining compartments secure and preventing the ship from sinking. Titanic was designed in such a way that even if 4 out of its 16 compartments were damaged and filled with water, it would still not sink. This was the White Star Line Company's biggest, most beautiful, and strongest ship. Titanic was built in the city of Belfast, Northern Ireland, at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. More than 3,000 workers worked continuously for 3 years to build it, at a cost of $7.5 million, which in today's terms would be more than $400 million. The White Star Line had such faith in Titanic's construction and strength that they called it the Unsinkable Ship, meaning a vessel that could never sink. But neither the company that built Titanic, nor the thousands of passengers on board, nor the crowd of hundreds of thousands who came to see its first journey, could have imagined that the world's largest, most beautiful, and strongest ship was about to take its first and last voyage. At that time, who knew that this grand ship would remain in history as such a tragedy one, that even after hundreds of years, people would still not be able to forget? The Titanic was a new breed of luxury liner. It was the largest ship ever built. The unsinkable pride of the White Star Line left Southampton. Among her passengers were many of the wealthy and influential. The Titanic sank into the depths of the North Atlantic only days later, after it struck an iceberg. More than 1,500 lost their lives. Hundreds of passengers and crew witnessed the tragedy and lived to tell the tale. The propellers were right at the water, and the rudder was right there at sea, guiding her as she glided away. On April 2, 1912, after a very short sea trial, Titanic was cleared to depart. On the afternoon of April 10, 1912, she set sail from Southampton, England, bound for New York. The command of the ship was in the hands of 62-year-old Captain Edward John Smith. Captain Smith had strict orders from the White Star Line that Titanic must reach New York within 7 days, by the morning of April 17th. In this way, the company wanted to set an example that Titanic was not only the largest and most beautiful ship in the world, but also ahead of every other ship in terms of speed. Captain Smith was one of the most trusted captains of the White Star Line. He'd worked for the company for 32 years of his life. Following the company's orders, he began running the ship at a speed of 23 to 24 knots. On the evening of April 10th, around 6:30 p.m., Titanic made its first stop at Cherbourg, France. where 274 passengers boarded for New York. After leaving Cherbourg the next morning, April 11th, at 11:30 a.m., Titanic stopped at Queenstown, Ireland, where another 123 passengers boarded. After this, Titanic's next and final stop would be New York. So, the ship set out at full speed in the direction of New York. Inside the Titanic, there was activity everywhere. A joyful atmosphere surrounded the people, and everyone was enjoying the ship's maiden voyage to the fullest. Passengers had paid a significant amount for the journey, according to the value of the time. A third-class ticket cost £7, a second-class ticket cost £13, while a first-class ticket was £30, equal to about 1 lakh rupees today. In addition to this, for the ultra-rich, Titanic also offered the first-class parlor suite. This included 2 large bedrooms, 2 walk-in wardrobes, a private bathroom, and a spacious sitting room, along with many special. The ticket for this parlor suite was £870, whose value today would be more than several crores of rupees. While the passengers were enjoying their journey, the crew members on board were busy with their duties, most of which involved serving the wealthy and first-class passengers. Because of the deadline to reach New York by the morning of April 17th, Captain Smith kept Titanic running at full speed. The ship's pace was indeed fast, but every aspect was being carefully monitored by the captain and his team. For this reason, instead of following the northern track in the North Atlantic Ocean, the ship was being taken along the southern track, even though the northern route was shorter. This was done because from January to August, the weather in the northern track area remained quite bad, and large icebergs were also present there. To avoid the risk of collisions, the straight northern route was abandoned, and the slightly longer southern route was chosen. At that time, there was no advanced technology to detect icebergs or stormy dangers ahead while at sea. For this reason, at the front portion of the ship, high up, there was a crow's nest, also known as the lookout point. Here, 1 or 2 men were always stationed, who used binoculars to keep watch across the ocean and warn the captain of any icebergs or storms in the ship's path. On Titanic, this job was handled by Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, but the problem they faced was that they had to keep watch without binoculars. This happened because one of Titanic's officers, David Blair, was reassigned to another ship at the last moment. When Blair left Titanic, he mistakenly took with him the key to the locker that contained the ship's binoculars. No one could have imagined, even in their worst nightmare, that such a small mistake by David would become one of the reasons for Titanic's sinking. Because of the lack of advanced technology, all ships of that time had to coordinate with each other. Through wireless radio, messages were transmitted between ships, where the vessel ahead would warn the one behind of any dangers in its path. On Titanic, Senior Officer Jack Phillips was operating this wireless radio system, and that's where we'll pause the story for today. The journey of the Titanic has only just begun, and in the next part, we'll dive deeper into the events that shaped this unforgettable tragedy. So if you're enjoying this series, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications, because the next chapter will be coming very soon. Won't want to miss it.